Welcome back to my channel. So I've been kind of in a little bit of a video slump. You might not have noticed because I think I only missed 1 week and it was like my birthday and I just didn't really worry about it. But I watched this video that we're about to watch again. I watched it like a month or two ago and I'm like, oh, that's such a cool idea. I'm gonna make a vlog of reading all these books. And then I didn't. And you know what? I feel slightly bad. I think like part of me has been in just a video funk. Then part of me is like, okay, well, basically in this video we are going to be watching Katie Coulson's channel. She made this big video. It was like an hour long. It's the best books of 2022. She lists the top 26 and she does like 10 to 15 honorable mentions. And I was going to make a list or like a spreadsheet of all the books. And I have read some of them. So I was going to be like, yes, I've read it. No, I haven't read it type of thing. And then we were going to sit down and make a reading vlog as I read my way through the top books of 2022 and see if I agree. It is now April 15th and I have yet to start this vlog. So I've also kind of been getting on myself and I'm like, well, it's already April when you're starting this project. It probably won't be done till June or July, so the video will be up in August or July probably, and no one's gonna want to watch that. Here's the thing though, I used to make content for myself, and what I mean by that is I used to make this kind of content that I liked making, and then I kind of got lost in the shuffle because there's a lot of pressure on BookTube, and I don't think that people realize that or that they mean for there to be a lot of pressure, but there is. And I've said it a few times in more recent videos, but I'm trying so hard to be kinder to my soul. So I am interested in this vlog. Yeah, it's gonna come out late in 2023. It's gonna be like me reading the best books of 2022, or like, can we trust booktubers, or can we trust the internet about, are these books really worth it type of video. And I know that you've seen this kind of video everywhere, but I'm literally going to watch her entire video, make a list of every book that she mentions, and we'll talk about all of them. We'll talk about the ones that I've read and my opinion thus far on those. And then we'll see what books are on my TBR. TBR is to be read if you're new around here. But what books are on my TBR that are also on that list, and how easy or how hard it will be for me to obtain the rest, whether it be through the library or buying them. I do like to buy books, so if I have to buy a couple of them, then I'm okay with that. But yeah, let's just get started. I think I'm gonna watch this video and then I'll come back and chat with you afterward. It is a few hours later, and I think that this is going to become more of a series. I don't think this is going to be an extremely long video. So for the rest of this video, like I went through and I made this spreadsheet of all the books that Katie Coulson talked about. So she gave me 24 honorable mentions that were on at 4 people's best of list, and then 26 of the top books that start at like 5 people talking about them. So I have this whole entire list. This video is just going to be talking our way through this list. I'm going to be talking about the books on this list that I've already read, and I'm going to tell you if I agree or I disagree on the fact that they're like the best books ever. I'm going to tell you right now, some of my opinions are unpopular, and I don't understand how some of these books made the list, but that's okay. We'll get into it. We'll talk about the rest of the books and the books that are still on my TBR. And then in our next installment of this video, or of this series, I will be reading all the books that I own and hopefully acquiring more, because a majority of these I do want to read if I haven't already. There are a couple that I have no interest in, and we will just talk about it. So this one's going to be more of a chatty kind of chill video, whereas the next book in the series is going to be more of a vlog style, let's read all the books, maybe a little hecticness of what is my life. So I hope that's okay with you. I mean, even thank you. Even if it's not, that's how we're gonna do things. And I don't know if you heard him, but my husband like walked in the hallway and he's like, it is. Let me get a couple more things together. I have the books that I've read already, but I forgot to get all the books that I physically own ready for that portion, which will be the end of this video. Thank you for waiting so patiently for me. So I think the setup of this video is, first off, you should go check out Katie Coulson. I'll put her somewhere up here. But if you've never watched this video, it's about an hour long. It's really awesome that she spent so much time putting together a list of all the favorite books. So there are, I think, like I said, there are 51 books here. So this episode in the series, sure, we're going to go with that, is going to be me just going through all the books. I'm going to tell you what I know about them and if I've read them or not, and if I am interested in reading them. And then we'll go through the ones that I've already read, which is right here, this stack. We're going to talk about these, my readings, and if I would recommend these books for you, or if I disagree with all of BookTube, which is fine. I'm used to having the unpopular opinion. And then we will quickly go over the books that I own physically and a couple books that I own on Audible or that are available on Script. And in the next video in this series, or the next episode, or whatever you want to call it, I will be trying to read some of these books and the ones that I have digitally. So I hope that makes sense. I hope you're in for this fun ride, and I really do hope that you enjoy this video. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you are new around here. Like I said, we're going to start off real slow. I'm just going to go through this entire list. So the first book is Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. I have not read any of this series, nor am I interested. It is a fantasy series, and I can appreciate fantasy, but from afar. I don't read fantasy very often, or like ever. So I'm gonna humbly pass on the Jade Legacy, the Jade series, Jade City series. I don't know. I don't have any interest personally because I don't read fantasy and I know that it would not be a good match. So I don't want to go there. Then for the ones that I've read, I'll just tell you the name and the author because we're going to dive into that after this conversation. So, Finley Donovan is Killing It by Elle Cosimino. I have read, and it's in here. I love it. Then, Notes on an Execution is on my Audible account because I knew this would be one of the books that made it, or I thought that it would be, so I bought it a couple months ago when I was originally going to do this video. I don't really know a lot about it. I think that it's a literary fiction that follows this man the night that he's supposed to be executed, and I feel like it's going to be a little out of my comfort zone. It's going to be more like a character study about this man through the perspective of 3 women in his life: his mother, his girlfriend, and the FBI agent that is tracking him down. I could be wrong, but I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to feel about it, but I am trying to go in with an open mind. Then We Spread by Ian Reid. I feel like I'm going to love this one because I really enjoyed the other book by Ian Reid. I'm thinking of ending things. I have no idea what We Spread is about, but I think the ebook is on Scribd, and I might have ordered it on Pingo Books. Then Pen Pal is, I don't even remember the author, but it's like this horror novel, and that's all that I know. So again, I really don't know anything, but the ebook is available on Scribd. Then I recently read The Push by Ashley Audrain, and we will be talking about my read pile. Then I was sent a finished copy of The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I was sent by the publisher, so thank you to the publisher for that, but it is owned and unread, so it's in this pile somewhere. Then The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley and Austin Stigmaroka. Anyways, this book, The Roughest Draft, I feel like I've read it, but I really don't remember it. So I am going to try it again to see how I feel about it, because I read their newest book, Do I Know You?, earlier this year, and I absolutely loved it. So I do want to try The Roughest Draft again and see if it's really that unmemorable, or if I like skim read it, or if I didn't read it at all, but I don't have any memory of this book. Then I own The Dead Romantics, and it's on my TBR. Then Know My Name is a nonfiction by Chanel Miller, which we will talk more about, but that one I do own physically. The Maid by Nita Prose. I did read that, but I didn't like it. So any of the books that I've read that I don't like, I'm just gonna talk to you right now about them. So The Maid by Nita Prose, the writing was wonky for me, but essentially you follow this maid who finds this dead body in one of the rooms that she was cleaning, and then she becomes the prime suspect. And honestly, the maid is just weird, and the writing was just weird, and I personally didn't love it as much as everyone else was. I think I gave it like a 3-star. It was fine, but I've definitely read better books. Razorblade Tears is in this pile. Okay, this is where things get controversial. Not that, like, not loving the maid isn't controversial either, but I DNF'd Tender is the Flesh. Now, I don't think that this is a bad book. I just don't think that I could stomach reading it because I'm a wimp. Okay? No, I'm just very, very, like, I get easily grossed out. I don't like things that are gonna just gross me out too much. And that book is essentially about cannibalism, and that is disgusting. But you live in like this dystopian future where all the animals, you cannot eat the animals anymore because they have some kind of virus that when you eat them, it makes humans sick and kills them. So we have turned to cannibalism. And a lot of it is about kind of social standing and like society and like who lives and who dies and becomes meat, essentially. And I get where that literary novel was going, but just for me, for my mental state, I cannot read that book. So I have marked it as read, even though it was DNF'd. It's read. I have no interest in that book. If you read it and loved it, then I applaud you, and I'm very, very happy for you. But for me, it would never have worked. Then The Appeal is on my TBR right here. Then Alone with You in the Ether. I'm on the waiting list on my Libby app for that book. I have zero ideas what it's about. I think it's a sci-fi by Olivia Blake, but I don't know for sure. Everything I Know About Love by Dolly something rather. I think it's her memoir, and it is available on Scribd as an audiobook. I prefer to listen to a lot of my nonfiction because most of the time the author actually reads the nonfiction, especially like memoirs, and usually they're just done so superbly. So I will be listening to that one. My Best Friend's Exorcism is in this stack of books that I've read. Then there's The Martian, which is in this stack. I know, that's surprising. Then Things We Never Got Over is in the stack of read books. Heartless by Elsie Silver. This is the second book in a series. I believe they're companion novel series, so you don't have to read all of them. But my brain says that it can't do that it has to read the books in order, and that I have to stick with the series. For that reason, I might not be reading Heartless by Elsie Silver. I'm going to see if I can find that entire series, or at least the first 2 books or whatever, but that is yet to be determined, and we probably won't find out in this video, but maybe in the next installment. Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren, which is in my red stack. Then we have The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I read that earlier this year, I think in January. I have since read Malibu Rising and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I don't like Taylor Jenkins Reid's like old historic. It's like the 70s and the 80s. It's really not old historic, but I don't like her celebrity, historical fiction celebrity stuff. I like her hard-hitting contemporaries. So I did not like The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I absolutely hated Malibu Rising, which Malibu Rising is coming up. So, you know what? I'm just throwing it out there. Malibu Rising sucked. It's like this celebrity family, like think Keeping Up with the Kardashians, where all the characters are stupid and like that whole book is pointless. I'm so sorry. If you like that book, then great, good for you. But like, I'm gonna tell you something that some might say is a spoiler, but like it sets it up from the very like first chapter. But if you don't, if you haven't read it and you're going to, and like you're gonna be mad if I spoil anything, which like it's not really a spoiler because it's in the first chapter. Anyways, I hate those freaking books that make this forced love triangle between one unobtainable girl and two brothers. Like, why? Tell me why. Yeah, so let's move on before I get upset. I'm already upset, apparently. The next book I have read, I don't own it, but it's the Saga series. It's a graphic novel series. It's like sci-fi and fantasy, and like, I don't care. I read the first one, but I'm not going on with that series. I didn't love it as much as everyone else does, and that's it. Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I think I've read it, but I also put it under no interest on my spreadsheet. Yeah, I've seen the movie. I'm pretty sure that I've read the book, and like, I don't love Gone Girl as much as everyone else did. It might have been because I watched the movie first and I really enjoyed the movie. So to me, the boring book was boring. The book was boring. I want to read All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. I do not own it yet, and my library doesn't have it. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get a copy of that book. Then House of Sky and Breath is the second in the Sarah J. Maas series, Crescent City. I think that's what it's called. Again, this is a series of a fantasy series. I don't read a lot of fantasy, and I'm just going to pass on this one because if I read this one, then I have to read House of Fire and Blood. Is that what it's called? I don't know. Anyways, I have to read the first one, which is like 1,100 pages, and like, I'm not that dedicated. Let's be real here. Then there's Our Wives Under the Sea. I don't know who the author of this one is, but it sounds amazing. So eventually I would love to read it, maybe, in the third video, because I think the second one is going to be reading the ones that I have and obtaining the rest, and then that's probably going to be a pretty long video already. So then the third installment is going to be all the ones that I have not yet read. I hope that makes sense. Then One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I did enjoy that one. I think I gave it 4 stars. This one was very hard-hitting. And for a while, it was my favorite until I read After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. But One True Love follows this girl named Emily. Emily. I don't remember her name. I think it's Emma. But she marries her high school sweetheart, and then like a year after they get married, he goes on this helicopter trip for business. His helicopter crashes and he is presumed dead. And, you know, she reels from that. She grieves. She eventually moves on. I think it's like 3 years later. She's eating dinner with her fiance, and she gets a phone call that says, "Hey babe, I'm alive. They finally rescued me." And this book severely tore out my heart. Like, it was such a messy situation because, like, Emma had moved on. She was with Sam, who treated her so well. But, like, Jesse was her first love, and they were building something wonderful together. And, like, it broke my heart because Sam was like, "I know I'm not your one true love, but you're always gonna be mine, whatever you decide, you know." And he was like so perfect, but like Jesse did nothing wrong. He just disappeared because his plane or his helicopter. It was just so bad, and like I felt so much for them. And then the next one, we're like completely changing gears. The next one is Confessions by, this author. I don't remember. I don't remember the author's name. But it's this Japanese thriller where this middle school teacher is teaching her last lesson, and she's lecturing for the last time, and she's basically saying that she knows that one of the students in her class killed her daughter. And each chapter is a different POV, and it's like this amazing, fun, really heartbreaking revenge thriller. So I very much so enjoyed that book. It was damaging in all the best ways. I would love to get a copy because I don't own one physically. I think I listened to this one on audiobook. Yes, I think I did. Okay. Then there's The Last House on Needless Street, which is on my physical TBR. A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson is one that I would love to read. I don't own it though, but it's like this vampire type of thing. So it's like Dracula's bride is writing a letter to Dracula about what it's like to be a vampire, I think. I don't know. Then Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which is in this stack for to be read. Then In the Dream House. This one is a memoir about the author who was abused, and it's a lot about her abuse. I think this one's on Scribd, but I don't know for sure. I will have to look into that. Then there's Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. That's another one that I would love to read eventually. It probably won't be in the next video, but maybe the one after. Then there's 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. I thought that this looks like a thriller, but Everyone says it's like a heartbreaking romance, and that's all that I know. Then there's Spy Family, which is a magna, which I actually have access of this one on Scribd as well, so I will probably be reading it on Scribd. Then there's Carrie Soto is back. So, Carrie Soto is back. Like I said, I don't like Taylor Jenkins Reid's like celebrity historical fiction type of books. So I'm not really interested in that one. Part of me wants to read it just so that I can say that I read most of the books on this list, but we're not even going to do the fantasy or anything, so you know what? It's okay. I have zero interest in Carrie Soto. Just because I prefer Taylor Jenkins Reid's more hard-hitting contemporaries. Slewfoot I have on ebook, so I will be reading it digitally, and then I predict I might like this one, so I might have to buy a physical copy. We're going on to Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I have read that book. I hated this book, y'all. Like, I hated every second of this book. So, this might be a spoiler. Yes, this is definitely a big spoiler. So, if you haven't read Every Summer After and you don't want to be spoiled, like, when I put my hand down, you may start to listen again. I hate it when you have that forced love triangle between two brothers and that one unobtainable girl who's just so freaking perfect. And that was Every Summer After. I did not like the characters, did not like that plot twist, and just absolutely hated everything about that book. Then we've already talked about Malibu Rising. Hated that book too. Then I do not own these books yet, but I want to read the Magnolia Parks universe. Apparently the whole series was supposed to be amazing. It's some kind of like small town romance series, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Then I have read Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. I hate everything Alice Feeney has written, and I will no longer read anything from Alice Feeney, but think Rich People Problems, where one of the I feel like that's a spoiler. So just think Rich People Problems where they get murdered. It's so boring, it's so dull, and I highly don't recommend this book. I absolutely hated it. But, yeah, you do you, boo. Apparently I'm the unpopular opinion, so it's okay. The Last Housewife is on my TBR. I have a physical copy, so we will talk about that here in a moment. How High We Go in the Dark is one that I don't own, but I think it's sci-fi short stories, and that's all that I know. But, like, obviously I have to read it for this video. As I say that I have to read something, there's also the Mindfuck series, which is about a serial killer who falls in love with the FBI agent that is tracking him down. And I hear it's like really smutty, and that's not really my jam. I don't think I'm gonna like that, so I have no interest in that. Then I read Part of Your World by Avi Hemensy, and I really liked that book. It's about like a doctor and a farm boy, and how the doctor's family wants her to marry someone Indian because she's Indian, and he is not Indian, but they still fall in love even though it's like against all the odds. And it's so beautiful, and like it does talk a little bit about mental health and things like that. And so it was such a nice read. I gave it 4 stars, but upon thinking about it again, it might be a 5-star book, and I might need to get a copy. Alright, this one's gonna hurt some people, so I'm sorry, but Legends and Lattes, I'm not a big fantasy girl, so I don't think I'm gonna read this one. Part of me kind of wants to, though, so if I get the opportunity to borrow it from the library or something like that, then I might read it. Like, no promises, but Legends and Lattes is a cozy fantasy that follows these orcs that try to open a coffee shop. Then we have I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. For those of you who don't know who Jennette McCurdy is, that hurts. But she was Sam on iCarly, and iCarly was a pivotal part of my childhood. So I'm Glad My Mom Died talks a lot about the abuse that she suffered at the hands of her mom, and about the eating disorders that she fought for many, many years, and talks about how like child actors and like child fame isn't what it seems like it is. So please check all the trigger warnings for this book, but I did really love this book. I don't rate nonfiction, but I highly recommend the audiobook because Jennette McCurdy narrates it herself, and she gets very, very emotional at times. Then we have Babel by R.F. Kuang, and it's a political fantasy that I just have zero interest in, so we'll pass. And then the last one is Book Lovers, which is in the stack of books that I have read. For the next portion of this video, I'm going to go and talk about this stack of books that I've already read and tell you my opinion. And then we're going to go into my TBR, and that'll be the end of this video. We'll go into my TBR. I'll do an outro and a closing for this video. And then in the next follow-up video to this one, we'll read this stack and see if we can get the rest of the books that I want to read for this vlog. The first book that I've read is The Push by Ashley Audrain. I picked this up in 2021 when it first came out, and I DNF'd it right away. But I gave it a second chance, and I gave it 5 stars this round. So, first off, when I first read it, it was like, back here it says thrills and chills. No, ma'am. No, sir. This is a creepy literary fiction. But it's very slow burn. It's no thrill, no chills. It's just a creepy literary fiction that follows this mom who just had this daughter named Violet. And her name is Blith. The mom's name is Blith. And she is convinced that her daughter Violet is like evil, and Dad Fox, he says that it's all in Blith's head, And then slowly it kind of starts to ruin their marriage, and their entire life falls to shambles. And you wonder if Blythe has postpartum depression, or at least I did, or if Violet is really evil, or what is going on. And then the last line of this book was just like, what? So I did ultimately end up loving this. I couldn't put it down. It's so mundane and so day-to-day life, but then at the end, like, it all just comes together so well. Oh, I highly recommend The Bush by Ashley Aldrain. And, like, you guys don't know that yet because we're still in April, and I finished it this month. The next one is Finley Donovan is Killing It by Elle Cosimino. I loved this book. So I read this one because of BookTube, and everyone was hyping this up, and I went in thinking that I would not like this book, to be quite honest with you, because you follow Finley Donovan, who goes to Panera Bread with her literary agent, her book agent, and pitches her next book to her agent. But while she's at Panera Bread, another woman hears her and thinks that she's a hit woman, and hires her to kill her husband. And that's how this starts, and that's like this amazing, it's actually like laugh out loud funny. I was laughing out loud, and I don't do that when I read. I cry out loud more. But this one made me laugh out loud, it made me smile, and then there was murder, and like she's a hit mom now, and I just think Finley Donovan is perfect. Not her character, she has flaws, but the book itself. Okay, then I also read Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby this month, so you haven't heard my opinion on this yet. Ooh, this one's gonna hurt. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I don't agree with the masses on this one. I hated. Okay, hate is a very strong word. I think I gave it 2 stars. But I was so bored with this thriller. Again, I think this one's more of a literary fiction that's mislabeled as a thriller, but you follow these 2 dads. One's a black dad, one is a white father, and they kind of get to know each other and go out for vengeance when their 2 homosexual sons were murdered. They were married to each other, and like, it did a couple of things really well. It talked about it. It didn't talk about. It showed the racism, and it showed the homophobia, and it's so freaking sad that we still live in this world. But that part, it's not that I enjoyed that part, but I liked how it was depicted really well. Like, it felt very raw and very accurate for me. But I didn't care about either of the characters, and I honestly, I hate to say it, but I felt like Too Little Too Late. Like, you treated your sons terribly. You didn't want to be a part of their lives because they were gay. And now that they're gone and it's too late, now you want to, like, be everything that you weren't when they were around. And I don't know. Maybe it's just my bias or whatever, but I wanted to love this book because it's got like revenge in it, but I just found myself bored and not caring. The next book that I read was My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. Fun fact, this is my favorite Grady Hendrix. This is probably the only one that I've liked. I haven't read all of them, but I've kind of given up on him anyway. But like, it looks like a VHS tape, which they did on purpose, but this like 80s horror. I mean, it was written in 2020, I think. 2016. Woo, okay. But it's still like 80s horror at the best. So these two friends, Abby and Gretchen, are best friends. They're in high school now. And Abby thinks that Gretchen was possessed by a demon, so she needs to give her an exorcism. And so she holds her best friend hostage to perform an exorcism, and then things get really, really crazy after that. And I just thought that this was kind of campy, but really fun. I ended up giving this one 5 stars. I think I read it in 2022. Then, a book that I read this year. It's this huge chunker, like 554 pages. Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. This is like a little bit of everything. This is small town. This is romance. Grumpy Sunshine, Hate to Love. But more than that, it's Naomi is going to this small town to rescue her evil twin sister. Yes, you heard me right. Evil twin sister Tina, from whatever mistakes she's made. And when she gets there, Tina steals her car. And then, now Naomi is stuck in this small town that she didn't even want to be in when she finds the kid that Tina had. And this kid is 11 years old and just thinks that her family hates her. Like, her aunts and her grandma and grandpa and everyone like that just hate her because they've never met her. And her mom, Tina, was telling her all these lies about them. And it's about like Naomi finding her niece and basically starting to choose to raise her, and finding Knox when she was already just down in her luck. And then Knox and Naomi, like, at first sparks fly, but like in the wrong way, and they really don't like each other, and then they just like slowly fall in love with each other, and it's super slow. And I love this book. I really, really love this book. Naomi and Knox's like romance is so freaking cute too. Okay, then I think I read Love and Other Words in 2021 or 2022, one of those years, by Christina Lauren. This one's really, really cute. It's about Macy and Elliot. Macy and Elliot were friends when they grew up. They kind of grew up together. They went on these yearly vacations, I think. And you follow them as teenagers, but you also follow today what's going on. And it's kind of like a second chance romance. And, you know, this one was so cute. Was just so cute. I think I ended up giving it 4 stars, but I really enjoyed it, so I still recommend it. And then number 1 book that I've already read. Well, maybe not number 1, but this one is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Let me just tell you, Emily Henry can do no wrong when it comes to adult romance. Like, She is queen. I hereby honor Emily Henry as the queen of romance. This One Summer, Two Rivals, a plot twist they didn't see coming. So I believe that this follows Nora and August and Nora. So Nora goes on a sister's trip to this small town in North Carolina called Sunshine Falls, where she runs into August, she is a literary agent, and he is the author that, you know, like, that's her client. And it's like such this super cute romance. I wouldn't mind rereading this one though, if I'm being completely honest with you. So I think I'm going to put it on my TBR pile because it has been a little while and I don't entirely remember all the details. I just remember having all the feels from this book. So yeah, this one will be on my TBR as well. All right, so now for this last portion of this video, we're going to go through my TBR pile. And like I said, there are some books that I don't own yet, but I figured we could make this into like a little series on my channel. Okay, so like I said, Book Lovers by Emily Henry, I would like to reread because I don't remember all the details. I do remember that I got like these really cute butterflies in my tummy and that I got all the feels from this book, but I want to remember all the deets. So that one will be on my TBR. Then there's a very secret Society of Irregular Witches by Singa Magdana. I very much butchered that name and I'm so sorry. But this is a warm and uplifting novel about an isolated witch whose opportunity to embrace a quirky new family and a new love changes the course of her life. So this one sounds cute. Ooh, excuse me. There's The Martian by Andy Weir. A Mission to Mars, a freak accident, one man struggle to survive. So I think So I believe this follows this guy named Mark who gets left in space by himself. And I think I'm gonna like watch him die, which is just so bizarre to me that people love that. But like I said, I haven't read it, so I don't know. I just think he's stuck in space and I think it's gonna be really boring. But I do kind of want to watch the movie, even though it sounds boring, because my husband says it's a good movie and he would watch it with me. So, I mean, it's on that list. Then there's The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. I actually want to get all of Ashley Winstead's backlist so that I can read everything. But maybe that's a little too soon. Maybe I should actually see if I like her writing. I think that this is like a true crime podcast that follows these women who are in college, but when they were in high school, one of their friends was murdered, and now there's a true crime podcast trying to investigate what really happened to their friend. If I'm totally wrong, I'm sorry, okay? Then there's The Appeal by Janice Hallett. One murder, 15 suspects. Can you uncover the truth? A wholly original puzzle. So it's like a theater group, and I think one by one they start dying. Ooh, and then, ooh, that looks, okay, so I haven't looked inside the book yet. I mean, imagine that. But there's a lot of, like, found media, like, found footage, like, media. There's, like, okay, there's a script, there's text messages, there's emails. Oh, this one's gonna be real fun to read. Then I just bought The Last House on Needless Street by Katrina Ward. I DNF'd this book a year ago. Last year, when I tried to read it. I know. So why'd you buy it again? Here's the thing. 2 years ago, when I tried to read The Push by Ashley Audrain, I also DNF'd it. So, Pastelita, she didn't give books a chance. She just got scared and gave up. Imagine that. You know, the Lita you know and love giving up? Psh, that's not in her vocabulary anymore, which is wonderful. But it means that I have some mistakes that I need to take care of. So I did try to read this last year. I think it was last year. I didn't really give it much of a chance, just gave up and decided to unhaul this book. I have no idea. I think the reason that I DNF'd it was because you get a perspective from a cat. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it says, in a boarded up house on a dead end street at the edge of the wild Washington woods lives a family of 3. A young girl who isn't allowed outside, not after last time. A man who drinks alone in front of his TV trying to ignore the gaps in his memory, and a house cat who loves napping and reading the Bible. So that's all that I know. Then we are very much changing gears. I have a nonfiction. Is this the only nonfiction? This is the only nonfiction that I own so far, which is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. This is kind of what started the Me Too movement, I believe. But it follows Chanel Miller when she is getting assaulted and what happened after the assault, and how a lot of people said if she wasn't dressed the way that she was dressed, then she would have never been raped. And it's supposed to talk a lot about like victim shaming and the Me Too movement, and this is gonna be a really heavy read, but I think that that's what makes it so important. And our last book is the one that I am least excited for, and it is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This is video games, sci-fi, but more than that, it's about these 2 friends that it's like a study on their friendship and how they create this video game together. And I'm not excited for this one, but it was book of the year for book of the month, so I got a free copy and I'll finally read it, maybe. I mean, not maybe, definitely. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're new around here. And I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to comment how beautiful Bella is looking. I know she's getting gray. It's because she's getting older. But don't tell her that. Just tell her that you think she's a sweet, gentle soul and that we love her. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys later.